This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings and you have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 2 minutes to check your answer. Now turn to part 1.
Part 1. You will hear a man inquiring about joining a chess club in his city. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, Knight's Gambit Chess Club. This is Joan, the club secretary speaking.
Hi there. My name's Ron and I'm interested in joining your club.
That sounds excellent, Ron. I think the first thing we can do is go through some of your personal details. Then, I'll let you know about the courses we offer. How does that sound?
Sure, let's begin.
So, can you tell me your name, please?
Yeah, it's Ron. Ron Felix.
That's great, Ron. And your number?
My number is 028 7159 446.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. 028 7.
No, it's 028 7159 446.
Ah, got it now. And can you tell me your address too?
Sure, I'm based in West Lakes.
That's great. What's your street name then, Ron?
I live on 35 Hawthorne Avenue.
Right. Is that Hawthorn?
That's correct.
So, how did you hear about our chess club then? Was it through a friend or family member perhaps?
Actually, I heard about it from one of my classmates at university.
Oh, that's great to hear that word has spread to your campus.
We were playing a game in the library one day and she just told me about it.
That's lovely to hear. Now, what's the reason you would like to join our club?
The thing is, I really enjoy socializing with people while playing. It's a great way to unwind, I think.
Let's see. Should I put down socializing then?
Wait, that is one of the reasons. But the main one is probably to improve my skills.
Ah, I see. Plenty of our members have joined for the same reason. Our teachers have a lot of ways to help you improve your game. You're definitely going to want to join.
Sounds like I came to the right place then.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer the questions 5 to 10.
I was wondering if you could tell me about the training courses you offer. Are they split up by level and what would I learn?
Okay. Well, let me tell you about the 3 levels that we offer at the club. I'll also tell you about the methods teachers use to train students and a bit about what you can learn.
That sounds perfect.
First, we have the beginner level. This is for players below 800 points. Here, the training method involves watching instructional videos.
Oh, that's fun. And what can I learn at this level?
Well, at this stage, you would learn some of the rules. And let me see. You'd also learn where all of the pieces are allowed to move on the board.
Actually, I've been playing chess for a few months already.
So perhaps you might be interested in the next level then. The intermediate level is intended for players who have a rating of between 800 and 1500 points.
I'm probably somewhere within that range right now.
Okay. Well, at this level, you're going to join in on group sessions. We do this so that you can work with others who are at your level and have some of the same challenges.
Great. What would I learn at this stage then?
In the intermediate level, you are going to gain an understanding of how the game changes over time. This involves learning about the start of a game, usually referred to as the opening, before moving to the middle game.
Right. I don't think I know much of the theory, so this would be valuable to me.
Yes. Before we finish off, Let me tell you about the advanced level, as all intermediate players will aim to get to this level at some point.
Interesting. What type of training would I receive in this course?
Well, you'd be playing a lot of puzzles, as this helps you to notice patterns and ideas. Then, you will also analyze matches from professional players.
That does sound advanced.
Yes, apart from that, players will usually be going beyond learning theory. Instead, they will try to understand more about strategies and tactics.
It all sounds very interesting.
So, I think that's about it. Any questions?
No, not really. I'm just keen to get started.
Excellent. So, I'll sign you up for the intermediate course then.
Thank you, Joan.
My pleasure.
That's the end of Part 1. You'll now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 1. Now turn to Part 2.
You'll hear an author talking about the things that beginners should know before they observe the night sky. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
This evening, we're delighted to welcome Debbie Salas. She's just written a book targeted at beginner astronomers who are interested in discovering the beauty of the night sky, and she's going to tell us everything we need to know about stargazing. Welcome, Debbie.
Stargazing offers a fascinating look into space, and it can be a very rewarding hobby to get involved in, though there are a few important guidelines to try and follow. Firstly, always remember to check the weather conditions before you head out, since cloudy or rainy evenings will obstruct your view. Another decision related to the weather is to wear warm clothing no matter what time of the year it is. That's right, even during the summer. If you are going out to a rural area, you should be aware of the local wildlife. It's important that you bring enough food to stay well fed, but remember to store your food securely to ensure that you keep any animals away from the site. The next thing I'll mention is that there are many beliefs floating around about stargazing that are not really true. First of all, don't listen to anybody that says you should only use binoculars or telescopes. These tools can certainly help, but only if you have enough experience using them. Actually, some of the planets in our solar system can be seen with just the naked eye. You might be interested to see some of the colorful objects in the night sky, like the Milky Way. It's certainly possible, but you'll need to work on your photography skills. Another thing to consider is that it is usually best to go to rural or remote areas, far from urban light sources, since city lights will disrupt your view of the night sky. Having said that, you'd be surprised that you can often see constellations like Orion or the Big Dipper from your backyard, provided you cut out nearby light pollution.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer the questions 15 to 20.
It's true that dark skies are important for seeing less faint objects. Then, why not try visiting national parks, rural areas, or special dark sky sites to help you cut out light pollution? Also, the best times to stargaze are during the new moon when the sky is darkest. avoiding the bright light of a full moon. Generally speaking, winter skies are usually clearer and offer better views. So, I personally prefer to go stargazing during the summer because even though summer nights are shorter, they are indeed warmer. This makes it easier to stay outdoors for longer. For beginners that want to see as much of the night sky as possible, the best idea is to purchase a pair of binoculars rather than investing immediately in an advanced telescope. Binoculars are inexpensive, simple to use, and great for viewing larger objects like the moon or clusters of stars, which is what you will be focusing on early on. In recent times, apps have also proven very helpful, offering real-time guidance for finding celestial objects. Though, despite their usefulness, it's unlikely that you will have a reliable signal inside a natural park. Depending solely on mobile apps might leave you frustrated. Therefore, it's a wise idea to take a star chart along with you instead. And touching on that point, a star chart would also guide you as you look up toward the many stars in the night sky, from your point of view. One last thing I will mention about this type of guide is that it can remind you about upcoming events related to astronomy. Now, let's talk about what types of objects beginners should expect to see. Under the right conditions, many of the objects in our solar system can easily be seen by a beginner. In fact, all of the planets are visible through a pair of binoculars, including the distant planet of Neptune. What's more, if you attach your binoculars to a tripod, you should be able to see more details such as the colors of the surface of the 3 planets, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn. Just be aware that not everything can be seen on any given evening, or even during the same month. So, it's essential to learn the night sky gradually. You can do this by becoming familiar with constellations or major stars to create a mental map that makes locating celestial objects easier over time. Naturally, safety is important if you decide to go out and view a solar eclipse. While it might seem that the specific location is not entirely important, being in the correct place can significantly enhance your view. Once you settle down in the right spot, remember that it's not safe to look directly at the sun, even at the peak of the eclipse. Instead, everyone should purchase a special pair of eclipse glasses before they head out for this event to protect their eyes from harmful solar radiation. That's about everything for tonight's talk.
That's the end of Part 2. You'll now have half a minute to check your answers to Part 2. Now turn to Part 3.
You will hear Becca and Alan discussing a seminar they recently attended about the impact of technology on the delivery of education before learning how it has influenced jobs in the sector. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
That seminar we went to this morning about the impact of technology on education was really interesting. You know, I was surprised how much the classroom has changed over the years.
Yeah, totally. That part about how students were all grouped together by age and grade level, but still learned in the same room with one teacher. What was it called again?
One-room schoolhouses, I think.
That's right,
It's such a different setup compared to what we have now.
for sure. One thing they mentioned that I thought was really beneficial was how students typically had the same teacher over multiple years. That must have allowed for deeper relationships to develop.
Absolutely. Having the same teacher year after year would have helped students to develop rapport. It must have been great for building trust.
Likewise, it was apparently great for the teachers since it allowed them to remember the strengths and weaknesses of each student more easily. They also pointed out that older students often helped teach the younger ones. That must have been quite effective.
I see your point, but I am kind of skeptical about it. Relying on older students would have placed a lot of responsibility on them because they needed to focus on their own learning. Plus, there would have been the issue of older students bullying younger ones.
Yeah, you're right. It does sound like it could lead to some problems too.
Then they talked about modern classrooms and how technology plays such a significant role. Appliances like smartboards and tablets.
Oh yeah, smart boards are amazing. Teachers can now create interactive lessons with multimedia elements like videos, animations, and quizzes. It makes learning so much more engaging.
And tablets and laptops are another game changer. They give students access to a wealth of information right at their fingertips.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, isn't there a risk of students getting too distracted with all that technology?
I get what you're saying, but I think it depends on how the technology is used. Teachers can set clear guidelines and use software that keeps students engaged.
You might be right, actually. Anyway, these innovations have really expanded access to education and given students and teachers more flexibility.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer the questions 25 to 30.
So the seminar covered a lot about how technology is impacting various jobs within education as well.
One thing they mentioned was how teachers' roles have become more varied recently. They're not just instructing anymore. They're also facilitators and sometimes even content creators.
Right? Teachers now have to manage so many new technologies and tailor their lessons to incorporate them. It must be both challenging and intriguing.
They also talked about administrative staff. They said that this job will require more qualifications in the future because of the increasing reliance on complex school management software.
Makes sense. As technology becomes more integrated, knowing how to use these systems will be essential.
And then there's IT support. There is likely to be a higher demand for these workers because schools are using more and more tech. They mentioned how crucial it is to have someone on hand to manage all the devices and software.
I guess with more smartboards and tablets, there's a greater need for troubleshooting and maintenance.
Exactly. They also spoke about curriculum developers. That was really surprising.
I recall hearing them say that those jobs will be at risk in the future, because artificial intelligence will play more of a role in content creation.
Actually, that is what a lot of people believe. In fact, since many students now choose to study online, there is now a lot of work in this field, but it is usually taken on by freelancers.
Well, that sounds like an interesting kind of role.
Now, when it comes to counselors, they mentioned something interesting. The number of people working in this job has dropped in recent years.
Wait, are you sure about that? I thought they said technology is helping counselors provide better support by tracking student progress more efficiently.
Oh, yes, you're correct. I was thinking about librarians.
Exactly. There simply aren't as many jobs available for those workers as there were in the past. Personally, I think there's something special about having a knowledgeable librarian to guide you, though.
Well, it'll be fascinating to see how these trends continue to evolve.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3. Now turn to part 4.
You will listen to a lecturer giving a presentation about the scale of the environmental issue of overfishing before hearing some of the solutions that have been put forward to deal with it. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In today's lecture, I'm going to talk about the problem of overfishing and the urgent need for a response to address it. Overfishing is emptying the number of fish in our oceans at an alarming rate, and by allowing it to occur, humanity risks upsetting the balance in the marine ecosystem. This has already led to the substantial decline of fish stocks in many parts of the world, but more widely, it threatens the future extinction of multiple species. What's more, millions of people either depend on fish as a crucial part of their diet or as a source of income. So, it is clear that the depletion of fisheries would have far-reaching economic, environmental, and social implications. To look for inspiration on how to tackle the issue, we only need to look back a few years to the Global Polio Initiative, where international cooperation was vital in curtailing a deadly disease. This successful effort involved organizations from the charity sector as well as national governments, and it has now almost entirely eradicated polio. We need a similarly ambitious approach to tackle the issue of overfishing. The aim of these regulations is twofold. On the one hand, it would be to maintain the balance of fish populations, and on the other hand, preserve the ecological balance of marine environments. So, why don't we already have an effective system for managing overfishing? The answer is complex, yet it is clear that the encouragement of unsustainable fishing practices and a lack of international cooperation are standing in the way of progress. Let's talk about the problems then. One of the major challenges in stopping overfishing is the prevalence of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Many commercial fishing companies and illegal actors employ large, unregistered vessels that operate without any oversight. In other words, they do not actually need to worry about facing a penalty. Also, unregulated fishing leads to artificial market prices and unfair competition, as illegally caught fish are often sold at lower prices, and this further incentivizes illicit activities. Right now, it is also evident that governments directly support unsustainable fishing practices through subsidies or financial incentives. And by subsidizing unsustainable levels of fishing, governments are, in fact, supporting the uptake of highly efficient industrial fishing fleets. Operated by large companies, ships like these have both significant storage capacity and advanced technology, so they are able to deplete fish stocks at an alarming rate. This then has the unwanted side effect of making it almost impossible for smaller, local fishermen to compete. In the end, what we witness is that residents of coastal economies who rely on sustainable fishing practices suffer the most financially. Perhaps one of the most pressing challenges is the lack of international cooperation. Oceans are vast and border multiple nations, making consistent policy enforcement arduous. National laws vary widely, and without international alignment, efforts to combat overfishing are largely ineffective. Some nations may have stringent regulations, while others may lack any oversight at all, and this leads to the failure to address the issue in any meaningful way. Okay, those are the challenges. Now let's consider some of the solutions to overfishing that have been put forward. Since one of the major contributors to this problem is harmful fishing practices, international bodies need to come together to reverse this trend. To do this, the international community must both provide support and hold national governments accountable when it comes to adopting and enforcing regulations against harmful practices. Well, it probably won't come as a surprise that many experts have also argued that governments are acting irresponsibly if they directly encourage unsustainable fishing practices. Instead of subsidizing unsustainable fishing practices, they should be providing financial support to sustainable fishing. Another thing that they could do is to promote industry-wide labeling and standards to steer behavior change among citizens. Finally, they need to dedicate more effort to supporting coastal communities, which are set to suffer the most if the world's oceans become fully depleted. It is also essential that governments work together, since this is a global problem that crosses borders. What I mean is that a lack of progress in one territory could jeopardize efforts in other parts of the world. As the global population is set to rise even further in the upcoming decades, the pressure to act now is only getting greater. So, are there any...
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4. That's the end of the listening test. You will now have 2 minutes to check your answers.